In this video tutorial, we're going to start looking at how you bring in assets to your sketches, and in particular, we're going to start by looking at images. We perhaps need to have a little look behind the scenes of what's going on. So inside the coding editor, there's a little arrow that reveals the filing and the files that are being used to make things happen over here. So when we run the sketch, effectively what we're displaying is a web page over here, and eventually you can take all of this and put it and upload it as a web page. What we're really interested in is obviously the how to write the code in JavaScript. So that's why we've been concentrating on the sketch here. But behind the scenes, for those of you who have any understanding about web and web design, you'll see that there's a file that's in there, an HTML file that's creating the structure for your website. There's a very minimal style sheet for creating how the that structure looks, but again, we're not really interested in those at the moment. What we're interested in here, but what's important is starting to understand that there is a file and a filing structure, and all of these are interrelated. And an image is just another file that we're going to have to start thinking about bringing in. Now we can import the file into here, but we're probably better off creating a folder for our assets. So that's what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to go up to here and create a folder. I'm going to call it assets, and then in that folder I'm going to upload a file, and then all I need to do is drag and drop the files that I need. We can use any image that is web friendly, JPEGs, PNGs, GIFs, etc., etc. But as with any images that are being used on the web, it's more than highly advisable to edit your images in Photoshop and to get them at the size you want them before you start using them in your code or on a website. So these have all been pre-edited in Photoshop and they're good to go. So I can just drag those in, and you can see now they're now available to me to use as images. Okay, so what we're going to do is just load these images up into our sketch. So in order to do that, we need to create a variable to contain the image. Which is image. I'll just do image 1. So now I've created a variable to contain the image, and then we need to load the image. And what I'm going to do is just copy one that we had earlier, speed things up a little bit, across into there. Get rid of the comments, we don't need those in there just now. So what we've done is we've put something inside the variable, and that in this particular case is the path and reference to the image over here, which is sitting in assets. So we have to write assets. This little forward slash indicates that it's going into another directory or folder, and there's the name of the file. And if we've got that all written correctly, we should be able to see, yes, nothing happens down here. Now then, this may well happen. I'm just going to change that so the file name is incorrect. And you'll see now it's given me a warning that it's having a job finding the file because the path and name is incorrect. So you have to be careful of that. Okay, so we now know that's working. So now we can display the image, which uses this function called image. We need to put the name of our variable in there. and we need to give it a location. And it works very similar to the rectangle at the top left hand corner of the image is the registration point, and that's sitting at 0, 0. I could draw a second image if I wanted to, and this time I'm going to draw it at the bottom of my image that I've already got. And this time I'm going to actually change the size because I can add some more information into my function here, and I'll just make it 100 by 100. And now the image is now been rescaled to 100 by 100. If I want to use my second image, I'm going to need a second variable for that, and I go through the same process. I just copy my code and change the variable name because I'm loading it up into number 2 now, and I'm loading that into number 2. Let's make sure we don't get any warning signs. No, that's good. And now what I can do is I'm just going to copy my code here and draw my next image, and we'll draw it 300 along the x-axis. We'll leave it 0 down the y-axis, and we'll change the name of the variable, and if everything is working correctly, we get our second image in there. What would be quite nice to see is how we could perhaps add some transparency to our images. We can start using a thing called a tint. I'm just going to put a tint on everything to start with so you can see what's going on. If I add a tint, I could add a red tint to everything by using my RGB values. And that should add a red tint, okay, which may or may not be useful, but what we're going to actually work with here is a bit of transparency. So I'm going to leave the tint of white on that top one, so nothing's going to happen, but below my image here, first of all, I'm going to put that in, and I'm just going to move this back over to 200, so it's now sitting on top of the other image. So you can now see that's sitting on top of the other image, and it's reading it as a grayscale. And if I put one value in here, anything up to 255, so 0 being completely transparent, so I'll put 120 in, which is somewhere along. And there we go. So we've got that now as a transparent image sitting over the top. So that's how you import images into your code and start to play around with the alpha and the transparency.